Hey, folks, and welcome to another episode of The Voices of Education. This episode features Sedrick Leslie. He's a PhD candidate in Ohio State University's Workforce Development and Education program. His research involves teacher migration, teacher labor, immigration experiences, impact of teacher morale and work, and student outcomes, as well as ICT in education. He's a trained social studies and computer studies teacher. He did his first master's in innovation in learning and teaching and a second one in adult education and human resource development. He taught social studies in Jamaica for 3 years, taught geography and Bermuda studies in Bermuda for 3 years, and taught in the first educational experience program at Ohio State for 3 semesters. Above all, he's a Christian, a father, and a husband. Today, we're talking about teacher migration. Hi, Cedric. How are you doing?
Hi, Othniel. Thanks for having me. I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I am good. Teachers are moving, are they migrating from Jamaica? What are some of the reasons?
Teachers are searching for better opportunities. They are leaving home because the pay isn't enough and they are looking for better. Another study done by George and others, it showed that teachers, Jamaican teachers who come to the United States make not 3 times more, but the purchasing power parity is 3 times more than what they can do in Jamaica. What that means is that the services and the goods and all of those things that they can access after getting their pay in the United States is 3 times more than they are able to access back home in Jamaica.
Are you serious, Cedric?
I am serious.
Wow. Are there any other reasons they are choosing the US other than the economic benefits?
Apart from economic benefits, you think about social benefits as well. The United States back home is perceived as big foreign. And some of the things that come with big foreign is a better lifestyle, better housing, better services, access to medical care that is in a lot of cases at a higher standard than we are able to access back home. And so with this, you get this picture of paradise. And then, the American dream is something that's projected onto us. And so with that, Jamaicans get very excited. And I can tell you that even though I never taught here, I was very excited to come here. I've been traveling for several years before coming here for my PhD. And just the thought of coming to foreign, as we say back home, is a very delightful feeling.
Is your experience teaching in Bermuda anyway similar to those who teach in the US?
As a matter of fact, yes, yes. The students I taught, a lot of them were preparing in their examinations and all of that to come to the United States for higher education degrees, to do their bachelor's to begin with, and then graduate studies. I found that the education system, in a lot of ways, mirrored that system. Bermuda is also just a couple miles off the coast of the Carolinas, I believe. So it's right out there washed by the Atlantic Sea, the Atlantic Ocean, sorry. And so you find that even though it's a British overseas territory, they have a lot of cultural practices that resemble the United States. Not only that, I have several colleagues who work here in the United States, and I would have been in dialogue with them over the time that I worked in Bermuda. And you would get the same sort of picture when it came to student attitudes, the whole outlook on education. I knew then from that, my experiences, that the systems both sort of mirror each other.
So we've talked about the opportunities, social, economic opportunities.
Mhm.
Are there any drawbacks to teaching in the US, leaving home and coming to the US? What are they?
There are several drawbacks. And I must say before that there's a vibrant Jamaican community in several parts of the United States. You think of North Carolina to be one of the main places where several Jamaican teachers go per year. So you can imagine that there's a Jamaican community, Jamaican restaurant, we're big on our food and all of that.
Definitely.
And Jamaicans are looking forward to come to this place where they feel at home. However, when they step into the classroom, that's a whole next ball game because you're thinking about entering into a society that you've not lived in for a while, well, not lived in before, you're thinking about social norms that you're now going to have to learn and make a part of your day to day. And so, one of the major challenges, based on a study I read, it was by Cross and others in 2011, is that when teachers come here, they face this culture shock. Students are poorly attired for school, dirty, which is something that we barely see back home. They speak to teachers in any sort of way they please. So you get this environment that is not conducive to the typical Jamaican teacher's experience. And so it's very unsettling in a number of ways. Other drawbacks include some teachers are not well supported in terms of their transition. Housing might be difficult to find. I know the recruitment agencies in a lot of cases, and I'm not an advocate for them, just saying, not advertising for any of them. However, I know that the transition for a lot of teachers is very rocky because upon coming here, we talked about purchasing power parity. They don't have the money to make that sort of transition. And so it becomes difficult to get into a place that has a higher cost of living coming out of a developing country. So those are some of the initial challenges that they are met with. The study I mentioned earlier by Cross and others in 2011, it showed, though, that it was just a study of about 5 teachers, a qualitative study. But at the end of 5 years, those teachers were showing that they were in survival mode. They were doing what they needed to do just to make sure that, they came here and, as we say, we come here not to count cow, but drink milk. And back home, that means that we came here for a better life. And a part of that is to make money and to make our lives better.
The last thing I want to talk about is the work agreement or the work arrangement. There are a number of visas. Earlier, you mentioned J1. Talk a little bit about the J1 and if there's any other kind of visa that teachers use to migrate to the US.
The J1 is the most popular right now. And I mentioned some numbers earlier. Last year alone, there were over 1,600 teachers who came here to the United States. And you're also thinking about, they didn't just come at one point. They came, most of them come for the beginning of the school year, which is about August thereabout for most schools, for most school districts. However, I mentioned that this visa is the most popular short-term labor visa because the United States really is not looking to have all these teachers come and live after their time is up. So that visa, the J1 visa, is a cultural exchange visa. So they're expected to come for 3 years at the start, and they might get a waiver that tells them, okay, you can continue staying there. And sometime after that, the school districts may file for them, putting them on an H-1B visa. Now, the H-1B visa is another short-term labor visa. And after that, many teachers transition to the green card, which then transitions to citizenship. Those are 2 of the most popular ones. The H-1B not being as popular as the J-1 visa, and the J-1 visa, as I said, being mostly for cultural exchange purposes.
Thank you so very much for speaking with me today. Soon to be Dr. Leslie. All the best in your studies.
Thank you so much, Othniel, and the same to you.